Well, just call it a wrap now then. It's done. The championship's finished, because if that's the pace that McLaren in the hands of Lando Norris 2.0, that's the amount of pace that they have in their back pocket, what we saw in FP2, then it is done. Even with the genius of Maximilian Verstappen, for some say soon to be 5-time glaze. That was something a bit different. Now again, all of those invested in a levelling of the competitive landscape as far as F1 is concerned were invested in TD018 doing exactly what we'd hoped for, giving us a competitive season over the remaining second, third and third of the championship. If that was the play, then I'm not sure that's not Gonzo. Full stop, new paragraph. Because if that what we saw from Lando Norris in the dying embers of FP2 is anything to go by, then we have ourselves a problem. Houston, oh the humanity. I'm not sure. And I thought this was going to be, I'll confess, I'll be open and honest with you guys. I thought this was it. I thought that the TD018 was going to do as did the TD032 many cycles ago to Ferrari. Do you remember 2022 when they were God tier, able to race with Charles Leclerc, Maximilian Verstappen, for some say soon to be 5-time. That was the story then. And then the FIA brought in TD032, I want to say, if I recall correctly. And that absolutely nerfed the SF23 as it was then, or 22. But here, it's going to get tech, I'm telling you. Go on, let's go through the evidence. Because look, TD018 came in and Zach Brown said, you know what, nothing to see here. Our pace isn't just going to disappear away. This isn't going to be fugazi. We're not a fly-by-night show. All of our pace is by dint of sound engineering. The race seemed to back them. You saw B Sport release on his God tier YouTube channel this theory, speculation and tinfoil hat settings around phase-changing materials, that was the source, the principal source of McLaren in their MCL39's pace. We speculated it. Indeed, some of us bought into it. Mention no names. Cameron CC. Why? Well, because the chap they call B Sport, I mean, he's a legend, isn't he? He did his thesis in phase-changing materials. Indeed, he worked at McLaren's. Who better to defer to as far as experts and expertise than him? If he thinks it makes sense, then who am I to disagree? Well, the guys and girls over at the race said nonsense. Ball feathers, that for the most part it is sound engineering, if not a splash of thermoelectric cooling, whatever that means, but no phase changing materials, because apparently that's banned per the various stipulation in the rules and regs as they stand as at May 2025. Zach Brown said, what are you talking about? You saw him with his water bottle that said tyre water on there, taking the mick out of not just Christian Horner, but the other 8 teams on the grid that are getting washed by that MCL39 and its ability to not just access pace, not just nail the other teams in as far as its performance in absolute terms, but nail the other teams as far as its ability to minimise and mitigate for the rate at which its tyres are degrading. Oh, the humanity. This is going to become a 1992-93 of a season, isn't it? When it was Williams and they washed everybody at the altar of durable competitive advantage by dint of their car active suspension then. Now it was going to be tyre mitigation. The F1 world watched and waited as we hoped the FIA were going to for once do their job and level the competitive landscape at the altar of tyre deg and flexi-wing. TD018 instituted as of this race weekend makes the parameters within which the likes of Rob Marshall, the last front wing bender, have to operate. Load test now, I want to say back in the day it was 15mm, now outboard front wing 10mm, similar as far as the inboard, reduce the parameters within which they have to operate. Their front wing, therefore, needs to be less flexy. And for context, why would you have such a thing as a flexi wing? Well, because ground effect, you derive the vast portion of your downforce by dint of the underfloor, the Venturi tunnels, meaning, therefore, when the car is traveling at speed, the downforce is unoptimized. When you're going through a Maggots and Beckett's, let's say, or an Eau Rouge, medium to high speed, that's when ground effect comes into play. And that's when the car is at its stickest. However, let's say you're going through turn 1, turn 2, at, I don't know, the Italian Grand Prix, let's say, or the second chicane, or Rascasse, or Portier, or Mirabel, low minimum speed turns where you need downforce points in absolute terms, then all of a sudden the ground effect goes away, because the ground effect downforce turns on at high speed, not low speed. So how do you wear both hats if you're an F1 team? Well, a Jekyll and a Hyde characteristic of a car, one that turns in brilliantly around low speed turns and one that doesn't snap oversteer around the high speed. Well, you could do that by a flexi-wing, right? One that comes into play at low minimum speed and one that backs off at high speed. Eureka moment, said Rob Marshall. Put it on as at the Miami Grand Prix, and McLaren haven't looked back since then. Miami, by the way, in 2024. Richard, you're a legend. Thank you for becoming the latest and the greatest. 2024, they brought all the floor, didn't they? They brought the flexi-wing. They bought the bloody slot grab. They bought the mini DRS. It was a gargantuan upgrade from McLaren, and they've never looked back since then. Now, TD018, last year they said, Tom Biasis, technical director of the FIA, said if it passes the load test as far as the flexi-wing at the front and the rear, good. Nothing to see here. We're good to go. That's what he said then. Christian Horner continued to protest, realising that McLaren was quick by dint of his ability to flex Rob Marshall settings, of course, so then ban it, do something about it. Again, if you're Christian Horner, you're going to turn around your cap and get in the face of not just Zak Brown, but the regulator. Of course you would, because that's how these things are done in F1. That's how you peg back advantage. All just truism in F1 history. History doesn't repeat, but sometimes it does rhyme. Christian Horner got his arms around it, and finally the FIA said, you know what, Christian, you're right. After having said, no, nothing to see before, finally he said, yeah, you know what, you're onto something. These rules, this isn't within the spirit of the rules. Ergo, we're going to institute this TD018 as at round 9, Barcelona 2025. Why round 9? Why round 9? Just ban it surely from now. Institute tighter, stricter regulations and stricter load tests from now. Christian Horner said, the FIA said, whoa, slow your horses. Slow your roll, Christian. We're going to do it as at round 9 to give the team sufficient lead time to develop flexi wings that are in accordance with these new rules and regs. So Christian Horner said, you know what, go on then, let's see. It doesn't make any difference, because these McLaren bods have been tax avoiding for these rules as far as flexi at the front, mini DRS at the back for the longest time, slot gaps too. So as soon, this is how the theory went going into Barcelona, was it not? Lest we forget. As soon as TD018 kicks in, oh, the humanity as far as McLaren. They were here as far as their pace advantage. They will now be here. We'll take something away from them. Zak Brown said, what are you talking about, lads? Guys and girls, you know nothing. We've already developed a flexi-wing that's compliant with the new rules and regs. So what are you talking about? To which we all said, behave yourself, Zak Brown. This has to be bluster. And now there is evidence to the contrary. This is going to get techier than techie things, and I'm concerned as an F1 fan. I must be honest. Let's roll the first one. So look, this. Let me set the context. Every single race weekend, the FIA publishes everything that they've received. Listen, if it's a new part, then it will be in this document. All the upgrades are in here per each of the 10 teams. Now, this is me on Reddit flicking through this document. This is important, chat. So go on, Kick Sauber. They've got a few, haven't they, there? Actually, I need to be able to bloody pause this so you guys can see. It's important, really important. Go on, let me. You can see me flicking through here, but your boy hasn't bloody. 1 second. We'll do this properly, chat, because I think, here we go. Let's go again. So this is me just casually just bloody flicking through. Hang on, here we go. Right, let's start again. So I'm going back to front here. You can see a new front wing being submitted by who? By Scuderia Ferrari, or Scuderia Ferrari, of course. You can see there, performance local load. That's why they've issued a new front wing. Well, of course, you would expect all the teams to issue an upgraded front wing so they're compliant with the new TD018, lest they had prepared, lest they'd already done their due diligence, and let's say issued the upgraded front wing before the FIA for clarification whether it was legal in a prior circumstance, a prior race, let's say. So that's Scuderia Ferrari, tick, as you'd expect. Go on then, chat. You can see what McLaren have issued already. We've done it in reverse order, but I just want to show you. Go on then. Kick Sauber, new front wing there. So front floor body, they've issued new upgrade. Coke engine cover, front wing, as expected there, chat. And then who's next? Go on then. New front wing of this team. Who's this? Williams. Copy, front wing, as you'd expect. TD018 in and amongst the rear cover and cooling louvres. Who else? You'd expect all of them to have. So we've got another front wing at the altar of Bosch. These are Cash App Racing Bulls. Front wing. It was circled on the diagram. You guys have seen that already. And amongst other bits and bobs. New front wing from who? MoneyGram Haas. Front wing. Why? Because of performance mechanical setup. Tick, 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 as expected. Who's this? So somebody's not got a new floor, but not got a new floor even, but no new front wing. So this is Alpine. You'd wonder why they wouldn't come with a new front wing, but maybe they've done their due diligence ahead of time. New floor, new fences, tick, tick, tick. Back markers, one and all. Doesn't really matter that much. Who else is there? Aston Martin. What's that you say? New front wing, performance, local load, tick, 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 as expected there. Let's flick through. Mercedes, no new, in fact, there's a rear wing, there's floor fences and a floor edge. No front wing, interesting, but maybe again they've front loaded it. Maybe they've got there before. New front wing, who's this? Red Bull Racing. One part upgrade for the Barcelona Grand Prix, the Spanish Grand Prix even. Front wing at the altar of performance, local load. Tick, 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 as you would expect. TD018 compliant. Then what have we got for Scuderia Ferrari? Front wing, rear wing, tick, 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 as you would expect. McLaren F1, no upgrades. Hang on a second. What are you talking about? No upgrades. No front wing. What? What's going on here, chat? That smacks of somebody, a team that have done their bloody homework, and I'm scared. Honestly, I don't like it. They've done this already. Zach Brown was right. They'd prepared for this. They saw this coming a gazillion miles away. They'd already submitted their bloody front wing for checking to make sure it doesn't infringe, not on the regulations as they were, but on this new technical directive 018, narrowing the parameters as far as the load test that these front flexi wings have to pass. Concerned any, chat? I am. I think Zach Brown might be barking at the right tree here. I think the likes of Andrea Stella, Rob Marshall, the last front wing bender, I think this indicates, it might be a nothing burger here, I might be barking at the wrong tree, but I think this indicates that McLaren have all their design philosophy I's dotted and T's crossed. And then you see this in FP2. And you tell me whether I'm barking at the wrong tree here. I didn't notice this, but friend of the channel, Peter D. Windsor. Again, I was trying to tell Peter that once this front flexi-wing technical directive comes in, the gap between McLaren and the rest is going to do one of these. Concertina effect. Mr. D. Windsor said, you're talking rubbish, Cameron. The genius of that McLaren is all in its aerodynamic efficiency. Has, as near as makes no difference, nothing to do with that front flexi-wing. They will be ahead of the game. And then you see this in F2. In FP2 even, Lando Norris, in the dying embers. Okay, so fair, right. If you look at the soft compound tyres from Lando Norris, whatever, as near as makes no difference. Similar, not same as far as the rest of them. However, in the dying embers, look at the bottom left of this chart. In the dying embers, Lando Norris does an 18.5, an 18.9, an 18.7, an 18.8, and an 18.766. Look. This wasn't a flash in the pan race simulation from Lando and Norris, because again, you get scared when these guys are doing consistently quick times. You look up and down that sheet and tell me which one of those other drivers, Leclerc, Verstappen, on those mediums even got close to an 18.5. Max Verstappen's quickest time, 19.7. Meaning, therefore, if you're going to, I understand listen, let's play devil's advocate and balance games for a second. I understand that Max Verstappen in that RB21 will come on a step. They always do at Red Bull. They like to sandbag during free practice, do their due diligence by testing setups in their extremities, and then all of a sudden they will wake up in a fire-breathing dragon of an RB21 right in the middle of its very narrow sweet spot as far as its optimal setup come Q1, 2 and 3. I get that. But that 18.7, maybe it's low fuel from Lando Norris, some have speculated. But again, 18.7 plays 19.9 from Max Verstappen on those mediums, or 19.7 even on those mediums. Piastri again a second away. So that would make you think that potentially Lando had turned all of his engine settings up to 12 and was running the car super light. But nevertheless, that is pause for thought. And you know who agrees with me? One King George Russell. They asked him, what do you think about this technical directive? And King George Russell responded thus. Roll the clip.
The technical directive coming into play this weekend, did you notice any difference, or does it kind of feel like business as usual?
I clearly slowed McLaren down a lot, so yeah, good news.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call English gentleman's sarcasm. It clearly slowed McLaren down a lot. Good news. They are a gazillion miles down on the evidence of FP2 per George Russell, who's acutely closer to these things than you and me and we. George Russell thinks that they've kicked on, that this technical directive TD018, as far as the flexi-wings, that McLaren, sadly, it feels like they've done not one of these, that the gap might have opened wider. What are we doing here? Rosenberg says it's free practice. Come on, mate. Surely, though, we can infer. There's some things that we can infer. Baxter B says this is race pace. 100%, mate. And there will be. You've got to put a lot of stock in qualifying around here. If Max or anybody else can put it on pole, you'd imagine if they can get it into turn one and consolidate for the pole, defensive posture settings, then it would be completely different, eh? But yeah, and still, I am concerned. Is it fair to say Max will be quicker tomorrow anyway? Yeah, of course Max will be quicker than what he's shown in FP2 past his prologue. Red Bull do this all the bloody time, but still, you'll forgive me for being a bit concerned. That initially went under my radar. I did not see it. I wasn't aware of it. I've gone back since to get onto Multiviewer to try and see the bloody maximal velocity of Lando Norris during the dying embers of FP2, but I can't get it. And I am scared. George speaks exactly what I imagined English people spoke like when I was a kid. Max's long run pace looked really good. Fair play. This feels like party mode 2020. That'll slow him not. Baxty, 100,000 gazillion %. That car is rapid, chap. I am concerned. And again, if we're having the conversation against the backdrop of a competitive championship, Max Verstappen being able to keep the Papaya boys and girls honest over the course of the remaining races through to race 24, then you will forgive me for being concerned. Nirvana said that he wasn't Chinol. So Luke says, why only Lando? True. That's another good point, actually, if you're playing devil's advocate games. The gap between OJ Piastri and Lando is too big for two cars coming from the same garage. We all know Oscar is fast as a drug. Go on then, Luke. Is Oscar faster as we round third base? Is Oscar really faster than Lando and Norris? I'm not sure that's true. It depends, does it not? Depends on the lens through which you're ingesting Oscar and Lando's performance respectively. I would contend yet and still, and I'll go to my grave with this, that Lando sans pressurised circumstance, a la, I don't know, a Monaco Grand Prix in Q3. I think Lando's probably still the quicker driver. I think he's still quicker. But again, we're not apples and apples, right? This is Lando's 7th, 8th season maybe, and Oscar Piastri's 3rd. What are we doing here? You want to compare, if you're doing like for like and comparing apples and apples, you want to compare Oscar when he's in his 7th season as versus Lando in his 7th, right? I know they're similar ages, but bloody Nora, no, Lando's faster, says SO. I think you might be barking up. I think you might be onto something there, SO. Attic says it's a fast track with high top speeds. The rookies will be audacious and show off at the same time. Attic, I don't know. I expect a cheeky safety car red flag. 50% of safety car as at 2024, by the way. Virtual safety car 25% of the time if passed his prologue. Static load test seems useless anyway, 100%, Michael. It's a bit of a, I don't know, it's a bit dodgy. Lando is faster, says Baxter B, legend of the shakedown. Oscar is the smarter driver. So you heard James, you will have heard hopefully by now, James Allen talking about the inevitability with which OJ Piastri drives. And again, the overtaking manoeuvre on Max Verstappen, the way he chews his food before he swallows, as far as his automotive pugilism, unique brand of, as versus Lando Norris, who always seems like he looks and drives. I won't even say what I'm about to say. It's a bit too techie. He's a bit green, Lando is, when he's in a pressurised circumstance, particularly against Maximilian Verstappen, or at least he has been over the past 12 months. Mention no names is your exhibit A. Austria, so too Cota, and so too a little bit of Mexico. But here's hoping it's Lando Norris 2.0, and he has learned since to go and watch some tape, understand who Max Verstappen is. Nico Rosberg said it best, right? The legendary champion of 2016. Nico said, if I were Lando Norris, I would go back and watch all of Max Verstappen's overtaking manoeuvres, both offensive and defensive, over the last 36 months. I would see how he's going to overtake, and I would know that when he's going to do it before he even does it. Study him like Kasparov would Karpov. Chess settings, 4D levels. Do you know what I mean? And I agree with Nico Rosberg. We'll see maybe tomorrow, not in qualifying, but Sunday the race, whether Lando has taken heed of Nico Rosberg's not insubstantial counsel. I'd go with OP in the season. OJ Piastri over the course of the season, of course, I get that. But if Lando's got his eye in, if he's played his way into the crease and he's learned for the mistakes, cured the ills and multitudinous travails that so plagued him in 2024, as it looked like he had in the Monaco Grand Prix, particularly in Q3, then the humanity. Webber is the smart one. Oscar is the one. Go on then. Troy, very quickly, as he ran third base. Let me speak to that very quickly. You've heard a gazillion times now that the calibre of the team that surrounds Oscar Piastri, they've been there before. They've done it. There's a chap called Arturi, who's been around NFL. He's physio, who's been around high-level NFL athletes all his life. Some of the best in the world. You know already, as far as Tom Stollard, that dude was an Olympian, an Oxbridge alumni. I mean, some breeding, some legacy, some heritage. And again, super stoic are both of those, not to mention bloody Mark Webber, who will know all about the dynamics between teammates intra-team. Lest we forget Multi-21, dealing with Sebastian Vettel way back in day. Silverstone, not bad for a number 2 driver. Who better, therefore, to equip Oscar Piastri with all that he needs, the tools in real time to fend off a fire-breathing dragon in Lando Norris, especially if he's 1.0 iteration. It will get techie, but I am scared. I wanted to submit that to you as the F1 judge and jury, because that scared the living dead as a Maximilian Verstappen fan, praying that Max can do as he's done in Saudi Arabia, Suzuka before that, and pull this one out the fire, that Red Bull, Pierre Vacher, Enrico Balbo can honour the legacy of Adrian Newey, since passed to pastures new in Aston Martin, the Green Machine. He's hoping that they collectively can pull their finger out, because I think overnight they've got some setup work to do. Christian Horner, Enrico Balbo, Pierre Vacher, Maximilian Verstappen, foursome say soon to be 5-time champion. Your move, sirs?